can't handle my job. When I pull out the gun, I can't get my job. The sort of feeling when I start, I can't stop. I got crawling at me now. Going to carrots, moving in the cabinets. I bought the Mavericks, I save my stallions, massive battalions. I finally had it, but then you just vanished. Damn, I thought it was savage. To advice, cause I'm never wrong. In the spotlight, but I'm on my own. And I am gone. You can satisfy my soul. Got 100 breakfasts, I'm so alone. Hey, I would throw it all away. I just keep on wishing that the money made you stay. You ain't ever cared about that bullshit anyway. I just keep on wishing that the money made you stay. Hey, you know I would throw it all away. I just keep on wishing that the money made you stay. Press went up, my press went up, we went our separate ways. I just keep on wishing that the money made you stay. I don't even wanna go home in a big house alone. I don't even wanna go home, and I'm not sure to call you on the phone. You know I would throw it all away.
And now for your weekly dose of metal. Here are your hosts, Morgan Danielle and Luke O'Blaze on The Metal Experience.
Woo! All right, we just heard Better Days by McKenna coming on our show April 30th. And then we heard Rich and Sad by Capital Vices off the Breakdowns and Bentleys Post Maloney cover album. Out
Malone.
now- Post Maloney, Carl Malone's son, album out now on YouTube. And they're also coming on the show May 21st. And both of these bands, Morgan tells me, and I saw the videos, but both of these bands blew up the internet last week by playing a Wendy's in Knoxville, Tennessee.
That's fantastic.
Did you guys not see? Oh,
No.
these
It's
two
great.
bands
Nope.
played a Wendy's.
Yeah. It was great.
Oh, wait. I did see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally
They were
saw.
on tour together. They were on their way to Nashville, and they ended up.
And it was an off day.
We'll get the
We'll get
story
there.
next month.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
They ended up playing a fucking
yeah.
Wendy's.
Every metal site and Q101 and everything all picked up on this story.
Oh my
and
God,
the,
it's a
and the
gimmick.
fucking
Yeah.
like news stories
Metal
were just
bands
flowing
playing-
with these bands
Well-
just played a Wendy's.
It's funny how like you're seeing these. I don't know, like that. I wonder if that was like what do you call it? Like if that was spontaneous or not? Because you start seeing some of this stuff like. You know, like a local band around here just got like sponsored by Jack's or something
Oh,
like that.
yeah, Dead
By
Awake.
Jack's
That's
yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah, you know,
By Jack's
so, like,
Pizza?
Yeah,
And it all
you know,
started because they started like talking about which ones
Jack's
they had a
Pizza.
Tombstone pizza and hated it, and they're like, Jack's Pizza is the best one. I could just eat this all the time. And then it just became like their guitarist Morgan
We-
just talking about it and talking about it and
we need to
posting
get
it.
sponsored
Just
by
like,
Jack's
oh my god!
Pizza.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
legit put in
I
some
think that's
some
really the-
submission for
the-
like trying to actually
yeah.
get sponsored by them.
That's really the face of like how you market yourself.
Yeah,
now.
they'll be on our
Yeah,
show in
right.
July.
I mean,
We'll
you
figure
have
out
to
by
really
now.
just be on point with some completely
off the wall.
Off the wall
type
shit.
shit.
Nothing that
Yeah,
makes any
exactly.
sense. Like,
Yeah.
oh, we're gonna just start talking about, hey, we're
Like
a
that-
deathcore band, but we're gonna talk about Jack's Pizza.
There's a
Yeah.
hardcore band that played at Denny's a few years
Yeah.
back. And they're like, what the fuck is up, Denny's? And they're
I
like,
love it.
fucking mosh pits are going on.
Where was I when that happened?
You're not a real band if you don't have a food sponsorship.
Yeah, right?
Oh my god!
Right.
It's important. You
Fuck
need it on
yeah.
the road.
Gear's
Get
overrated.
free frozen pizzas.
What are you
can get
eating?
free Wendy's for promoting. Why
You can only
not?
drink so much PBR, right?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Is there a band of like blood sausage that we can?
Oh man,
You're
was
like
it
a
Puerto
Kishka,
Rican?
Kishka endorsement.
Isn't it Puerto Rican? The blood sausage.
Polish.
It's like-
I
it's
think a lot of
European.
cultures have it,
It's kind
though.
of European
Yeah.
thing.
Okay.
Well, besides food is sponsors. What's going on tonight, Luco?
All right. This week, tonight, we have with us for the first time Panegyrist. Why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves? Who's
How's it
missing
going?
tonight, and what you do in the band?
Well, I'm Elijah.
I'm Vince. How's it going?
What up?
And
Well, we have a bunch of people that are not here, and
Yeah.
we're in the process of going through a bunch of member changes at the moment too. So some of that's just kind of we're keeping that on the down low
yeah.
at the moment.
So
we're
how many-
we're kind of a national band member spread at this point.
So how many total band members?
Like 6 maybe now.
Yeah,
Six,
I think so.
maybe.
Yeah,
I'm just
you
trying
know.
to think off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think it's 6.
Are there
Although
any-
7 if we include, like
Okay.
studio and live members, I guess. Yeah.
Are there any
Possibly.
official band members besides yourselves? official.
Yeah, I mean, so the lineup from our debut album was me and Vince, our friend David Kramer on keyboards, Paul Moore on bass, Brendan Main was a second. He and I both did guitars, and actually Vince did a bunch of the guitars on the first record as well. But yeah.
Yeah, Brendan was the other guitarist on the first record, and he was also the other one of the other main writers, and same thing with Dave. I don't know, that whole first record, it was just like a collaboration between us 5 people, kind of all in equal but different parts. And then now, I don't know. Now we're working on our second record, and we're kind of figuring out how that dynamic is going to go. We're currently, we just kind of started really going hard with it 2 months ago. So
Well, fuck yeah! Thank you guys for showing up tonight. We got
A
Morgan-
guest host.
Yeah, we got a guest host over here, Morgan Danielle. I'm Luco Blaze. We got the trailer hanging out with us tonight.
What
up? Greg Master Greggy is somewhere in this
Haunting the basement.
in this this bar.
facility.
And Eric
Hiding
from,
in the bathroom.
Eric from Sons of Rock came out to
Hey,
be our,
guys.
our guest host tonight.
Hi.
What
Been a
up?
bit. It's been a bit.
It's been a minute. It's been a
I feel
minute.
bad. I thought you were in the band. You're looking at me like, what are you pointing at me for?
I saw that. I saw that, and I'm like,
you,
I didn't
you
want to
look
say
very
anything.
metal, like, yeah, I'm in the band kind of thing. Like, okay. Cool. Nice to meet you.
I don't know, Morgan. What do you want from me?
I'm trying to ask what this is.
I don't know.
Can we talk about the
Yeah.
band's background?
Yeah.
How'd you guys kind of come together?
yeah, it's pretty interesting actually. It's
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh.
Well, it started out with our guitarist Brendan had started writing some kind of raw black metal stuff, influenced by early Emperor, and at that point, he and I knew each other, and he just wanted to record a 3-song demo or something and have me do vocals.
he was kind of coming into the studio, and we were kind of just demoing some stuff up, and hey,
kind
a
of
little
a studio project.
yeah,
you
like a
guys
little
started?
black metal side project thing, because he had some other stuff that we were working on, but I don't know, but Elijah and him started hanging out, and
Yeah, and then, I was wanting to start adding some kind of ambient guitar noise over what he was doing, but then that ended up turning into riffs, and then his chords turned into arpeggiations, and so this counterpoint developed where you have these different melodies that interweave with each other. There's not really like a rhythm guitar section throughout most of the album. So, I mean, that was just a few months of us meeting together kind of informally,
That's kind of an
writing.
organic process with writing. You guys are just
Yeah.
kind of jamming in the studio and coming up with stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially the two of them.
Okay.
To start with.
Right.
Yeah. And the studio, I don't know if you want to talk about that, but Vince's.
Oh.
The old Swift Road.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
actually, yeah, the old Swift Road, down in Bensonville. That was where we were based out of at the time, and Brendan and Elijah would kind of just come into the studio and just do these writing sessions and put stuff together. And I actually wasn't a huge part of it at the beginning because they were just kind of compiling guitar riffs. And at that time, I was actually set to be the drummer of the band, which I currently play live drums in the band for now.
Doing
Just
quite
to,
well. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you, sir. But at that time, I was just like, okay, yeah, this will be kind of like a slower, more ambient, like more, just ambient black metal. But then it started getting faster. And then it started getting more musically complex, and it started getting more shreddy and just out there, like the types of dissonances that they were using. And I quickly recognized, like, oh, this might be above my head drum wise. So then they had most of the record kind of complete, and they started coming to me, and we started programming stuff, and I kind of started, maybe like helping them piece some more guitar riffs together. And but the plan was basically that I was just going to produce the record, and we found like a drummer to kind of fill in on it, through the network.
Yeah. The guy who drummed on the album was Marcelo Sumowski. I hope I'm saying his name right. He's a drummer from Poland.
Yeah,
believe.
I think he was living in the Netherlands at the time.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. But they went to a Polish studio in Poland.
Right, that's what it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, he drummed on a album by this band Inferno, a band called Gnosis Cardius. It's sort of underground occult black metal, which I really love that album. That came out in 2017, I guess.
Yeah.
And I was connected with him on Facebook, and I was just looking around for people who might want to do session drums. So he liked the really rough demo stuff that we sent him, and so we got him on board.
And then Paul Moore was a childhood friend of Brendan's, and as was I don't know if David was a childhood friend, but David was also a friend of yours in college, and so both of those guys, they just kind of came on board because Paul's an excellent 5-string bassist who just taps all over the place and did wild stuff that kind of matched up, and David is just a heady ass musical genius who is great for working on anything with, and so both of all that kind of all together just kind of became this great chemistry that put it all together and stuff. So, and yeah, that's kind of the origin story of the band, I guess.
When you started this project, did you originally have a name for it, or did you kind of just see where it went before you decided to give it a title?
Well, the original name was Gloamingwald, which it was, I think, going to be more of like a sort of nature-focused, kind of that classic, nature-focused, black metal. But I ended up wanting to take more of a, like an esoteric and like actually, spiritual theological turn with it. And I felt like that name didn't fit anymore, so Panegyrist was the name that we chose. But then Vince and Brendan went on and took the Gloamingwald name and did
kind of threw it back at like what was originally going to be, because Panegyrist became this whole other thing in Gloamingwald, and even like most of the Gloamingwald riffs were kind of just still sitting there at that point because it kind of moved beyond, and so we kind of made another black metal thing, more ambient, that kind of slower, more like you said, like more nature, introspective focused. So yeah.
So what does panegyrist mean? How did you come up with that?
So panegyric is a classical form of poetry, like an ancient form of poem that is something that's written in high praise of something. So you could have a panegyric to an emperor or a god or something like that. And so a panegyrist would be the writer or reciter of that kind of poetry. And our music, it's, no secret, it's definitely very religious in its focus, and I felt like that sort of fit, the vision of, a lot of the lyrics that I was writing and sort of what I, was wanting to focus on thematically. So,
Yeah.
And then what was it? What was it the band originally called?
Gloaming Wald.
Gloaming Wald. What is Gloaming Wald?
Doesn't it mean dark forest in
Yeah.
German? Basically,
well,
something.
Wald is like a Germanic root word for like wood,
Oh, okay.
like a forest, and then gloaming is, that's just an English word. It means like dusk, like evening.
Like evening wood.
It's like a dusk forest.
As opposed to.
Oh my gosh.
Don't go there. Don't go there.
The album that you guys brought tonight is your
Morning Wald will
debut.
be.
Yeah.
Morning.
Yeah.
What is the album called?
The album is called Hierarchy, which is, that's a word that means, literally it's from, Greek roots, like hiero would be holy, which is where you get like the word hierophant or
Hieroglyphics.
hieroglyphic. And then urgy, liturgy, metallurgy, whatever. It means like a work. So holy work is what that word means, and it carries the meaning of like ritual. So.
Dang.
And you released
It's
this,
heavy.
You released this actually on a label. What label ended up distributing this, and is it just a distribution label, or is it also like a label that you've signed a contract with and are going to release the rest of your discography on?
You want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. Well, we got picked up after we put together our first big demo of our first song, Felt Complete. We got picked up by Ivoid Hanger Records out of Italy, and they said, "Yeah, we'll distribute the record, and this and that," and so that was really exciting. And there was, as far as I know, it's just a smaller label that mostly just does distribution and stuff like that. But along with that, also comes like a level of networking and such. So because I think that's also part of how we got hooked up with getting Marcelo to drum on it, wasn't it?
Not necessarily. I'm not sure if he even actually was familiar with the label at that point. But
Oh, okay.
yeah, I Voidhanger has a reputation for putting out a lot of just kind of really out there black metal and death metal, and even things that are not necessarily categorizable as either of those things. But there's just a lot of, I don't know, sort of cosmic themed or like occult themed or just in some way avant-garde kinds of sort of weird music that comes out of there. And so they have a reputation, like people there's a target audience there that is looking to that label for just things that are kind of not afraid to break boundaries. And
just running through their discography, like on their website, you just hear some of the music that they have on there, and it just defies, a lot of it defies like what you would even constitute as music. Like, I don't know, it's pretty awesome.
They
actually
last year they put out it's sort of compositionally themed around black metal, but I believe it's like flute and upright bass. It's like a whole album of that.
Sounds cool.
It was really cool.
And then they had another one that's like a sort of a chamber, like a chamber orchestra thing. But recently that project has been doing some live performances, and they've had various vocalists from Rotting Christ did some vocals on that project, and also Attila from Mayhem has recently. There are some videos of him doing some vocals with them for live performance.
Nice.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Let's hear some of the music off of the album.
Sure.
I know that you said the intro is not a song, but I beg to differ. The intro track you even have a name for,
Yeah.
so obviously it's music. What do you? How do you want to play the album tonight?
I don't
I've-
have
I've-
anything in mind. We can just play it in order.
Sure. I mean, yeah, like we could do that.
Did you have another idea?
Oh no, I mean, I mean,
Whatever.
you're the guy who has like good ideas for this type of stuff, you know.
Is it meant to
I
be
mean-
played in order?
Yeah, it is.
You
I mean,
know,
I think
it-
it flows together well.
It does, you know, especially the intro kind of sets the tone a bit because it's pretty somber and but as I've said before, you know, like it's pretty for an intro track. It's pretty heavy.
Cool.
Like it's really dense. There's a lot to unpack there.
Right.
So you know,
I think
it's not just like an empty orchestral track that we threw together or something.
One thing I do want to say before we play the first track is when there's an intentionality behind it or a flow. So many bands now they just go in and these are the 5 songs, 10 songs we have and knock them out and just throw them on a disc and get it out there. But when there's
5 singles.
right, yeah, downloadables, right. But when you have an intentionality and flow to all the pieces and it works together as a cohesive album, I think that's something that's kind of special.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of that anymore, you know. So
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
yeah.
what is the intro track called?
It's called Hymn of Inversion.
All right.
Into
Morgan?
well,
Oh, we're doing-
intro.
we're doing
what's
into?
what's into
Okay.
the next song?
Oh, and then the first song is Idols of the Cave.
Perfect.
Idols of the
We'll enjoy the
Cave.
first 2 tracks of the evening.
Creates the weak.
This is Jeff. This is Linus. We're in the band Nephilim. You're listening to the Metal Experience.
All right, we are back. I'm Morgan Danielle with Luco Blaze, Trailer Swift, just chilling tonight with our guest host, Erik Oldman from Sons of Ra. And we heard 2 tracks
Sheboygan.
to open up the night. Guys, stop it.
Stay on target.
Hymn of Inversion and Idols of the Cave. Nice.
Yep.
What a great way to come into an album. I really enjoyed that. That was great.
So there's a backstory to Isles of the Cave, though.
There's a backstory?
Right when we went into, you're like, oh, I can't wait to talk about this one.
No, just because like I don't know, the first track really has a whole vibe to it. God damn it. Sorry. The first track really has a whole vibe to it that kind of, a lot of bands like set you up. It's like, oh, it's so peaceful, and then, like you're in it. But this album just, I like how that second track is just like David's massive voice. And it's just like, just slaps you right in the face, like right after this beautiful piano track.
It reminds me of a Flesh God Apocalypse. Just taken down a notch without as much intensity of like drumming and stuff, but like the vocally, like the opera mixed with the singing.
They're bassist.
Yeah, it's totally very Flesh God.
Thank you.
Makes sense that you're on an Italian label.
Yeah, actually, Flesh God is definitely a band that we reference, or at least in the past when we were doing this record, reference them for like just musical intensity in general. I know what you're talking about, and I'm sure anyone who knows them does. Like, it's just some of the most intense modern,
they're amazing.
fast music out there. Speed doesn't equal intense, but the way that they layer things melodically is so totally
so good.
Very good.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Comparison, yeah.
Well, take us out of the cave here and tell us a little bit more about the artwork on your album, because you have quite an eye for just some phenomenal work on your album, and the fact that it's all handmade is even better. So, Elijah, take all the credit you want.
Thanks. All the artwork on the album is stuff that I did. There's the cover painting. There's a design, sort of like a sigil symbol design on the back, and the booklet is all like handwritten calligraphy pages. And there's also 2 additional paintings that I did that are in the book. We're really happy with how everything turned out, because it's one thing to like have all these sheets of paper with calligraphy on them and have a painting and another painting and stuff, but to see it all it's all right. Okay, yeah, to see it all pulled together. Am I okay? To see it all pulled together in something that you can hold in your hand and flip through, it's a cool feeling.
Did you do the artwork during the development of the album, or was it like in a phase? Like you did all the music first, and then your artwork was kind of reaction to all the stuff you guys worked out on the album?
2 of there's 2 additional paintings in the booklet that I actually did before the album. That's, he's holding up one of them now. Cool. Those 2 I did before we recorded the album, and the third one I did like right during the last stages of recording and writing. I was kind of rushing to try to get it done because we were trying to meet a deadline for, getting this into the label. Trying to think.
When you mean painting,
like oil painting.
Yeah. So what did you paint with original? Was it on a computer, or did you print on canvas? And what type of paints were you using? If they were real?
Yeah, it's all hand done. It is like ink and a kind of, it's called gouache. It's like watercolor and sort of like acrylic. It's a little more transparent than regular or opaque. That's the word I'm looking for. than regular, watercolor. And I actually use coffee as a solvent. It gives
What?
Really?
Yeah.
Please tell me more.
Yeah, it gives it more of like that earth, sort of like an earth tone, and it just interacts with the pigments in kind of interesting ways.
So do you apply that to your brush before you dip it in the paint, or vice versa, or do you apply it afterwards to the painting?
It's like I use it instead of water, so like it's like a watercolor painting, but I just use coffee instead.
What?
Yeah. And
I just picked up my first set of acrylic paints. I'm very excited, but then I saw your artwork and I was like, my stuff is gonna look really stupid.
oh, you should go for it.
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah,
I do
it's for
abstract
real.
things. I can't do intricate things like this. I just paint colors and blend them together and call it art.
I think Elijah's artwork is pretty darn abstract.
I'm pretty sure Elijah might have been Michelangelo in his past life.
So then,
I mean, the Sistine Chapel's great, Elijah. You did phenomenal work.
That was my nemesis.
Yeah.
I don't talk about him.
with the artwork, how did you get the artwork then from your painting
Yeah.
now into this book that I'm holding
Did you
in
have
my
to
hand?
send them to Europe?
No.
They got like special things in Europe for
Yeah,
that.
yeah. We actually had a personal escort for all of the artwork collection. They took I'm just kidding. They took a flight to get. No, I'm just
I
kidding.
didn't believe you.
No,
I
actually,
did. I totally did.
Handcuffed to a briefcase, right?
yeah. No, Elijah does everything by hand. Like it's all, I don't know. Like, would you call it analog art?
I guess you could call it
It's
that.
not digital. But and then we basically did most of the art digitization was done in-house by myself and also one of our good friends in our network, Josh Dagenet. We photograph everything, high quality, great, like top quality lighting situation and everything, and make it as ideal as possible to reflect what's on the canvas on a screen. And then we sent those high res images over, and they printed it out, and it was pretty wild actually. We had to wait a lot longer for our record to come out because our label is super gracious and like giving us all of this visual real estate for this, for a totally brand new band. Most bands just get like a tiny little digipack with no booklet, or like a little sleeve for their first record, but they recognized
How artistic you guys are.
and how like it's a whole, it can really be a whole package. And so they went through a couple of different printing companies to even make sure that like all the colors and everything was well represented. Wow. And all the I think especially the gold, because we paid attention to make sure that the photographs of the paintings,
It just pops.
that the gold was really
Oh my
present,
gosh.
and they had to make sure that they wanted to see it pop on the printing as well.
They were using a different kind of ink. There's like some intricate gold details on the cover, which the actual painting that's actual gold leaf on there.
Yeah.
But we wanted to use like a different kind of ink to make it pop out on the
What do
actual
you mean by
digipack.
it's actually gold leaf?
It's like 23 karat gold. It's really
You melted it?
No, so
No,
it's like
it's-
ground, and it's in like a vehicle. that
How
you
much
can
is
lay
it
on right?
worth?
I get a pack of like 50 sheets for about $50.
What?
It's really
it's
thin.
really thin. It's
Yeah.
it's gold that's like hammered really thin. So it's
Like baklava thin.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
baklava.
Hey.
Hey, it's really messy.
Yeah, it gets everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, you just turn yourself gold and you're worth millions.
One's millions dollars.
But anyway, they were using a different kind of ink to print that section of it on the digipack, and there was all kinds of issues that they ran into with the companies that I think they only went through like two different plants.
Yeah.
But there were like I don't remember how many, 3 or 4 runs of like failed attempts to get this thing printed.
They,
And
like,
to think that you only sent him like an image and not your actual like painting.
yeah.
yeah. And,
Well, go on.
oh no, go ahead.
That's the thing that Vince and I do actually really often, because I do artwork for other bands, and Vince has been a integral part of actually getting it out there. Because whenever I, do those paintings, I'll take it over to the studio. We'll get the lighting and the camera set up, and we'll turn it into a digital file that I can then send to the record labels or bands that I'm working with.
So what gallery is your actual paintings hanging up in now?
I have a bunch that are, just at home. They're not hanging up anywhere. Although there are some at actual Swift Road Studio.
Yeah. We have a small gallery in our side hallway at a studio. Which you guys should totally come out and check out sometime.
Yes.
Totally.
Yes.
Just don't go alone.
Yeah.
Well, I'd be bringing Luco.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'd be alone too because I'd be lost.
Yeah, right.
He has a comfy couch in the back in the control room.
Nice.
Yeah, it's nice.
We might need to talk about that big comfy couch off our grid for a minute. Anyway.
But yeah, so it's got we've got a small gallery in there, and we've got a few pieces from him, and it definitely like every piece of his artwork, not to like totally just sing praises, but like every piece just is a whole mood, and it's as you can even tell like from the artwork on the album.
And then even the calligraphy is all hand done, and then you guys took a picture of it for a digital.
Yeah, Vince had to do a lot of photography because each one of those frames,
like
each page is a different
20 pages or something like that. And yeah, it was it's cool because you'll see stuff like that and you think it's kind of cheesy because you can do that in Photoshop with just like a background or whatever, But no, like that was actual like I actually still have all of those stacked up.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Like every sheet was like 12 by 12, the size of like a vinyl album cover, and we photographed them all, and that's what they look like. Calligraphy on this like stained
really
piece
super
of parchment
accurate
paper.
transfer. It's nice. Yeah.
And there's there's a little bit of artwork too, along with the calligraphy. Little drawings and whatnot. But
yeah, and that was also all like on the page too. Like he, and if you mess up, like a letter.
Start over.
Yeah.
So yeah, with all of these, because most of the pages are calligraphy and writing.
Oh my gosh!
Did you mess up a lot on these, or it's like
there were maybe 3 or 4, maybe 3 pages I had to restart, but part of why it
the
took
last word, and you're like, fuck.
Thankfully not. No, it took such a long time because. Well, for one thing, I was using like a dipping pen. Like I have like an ink bottle, and this
inkwell.
Yeah,
and a feather.
And it wasn't a feather, but almost.
That's the next record.
Yeah, I'll
quill.
Pluck it from a live goose.
Ostrich.
Yeah.
But yeah, because you have to be so careful. Like, it's not like writing a fast note. You're making sure that you're actually putting the right letters down, otherwise you got to start over. So
and the right amount of ink too on everything.
Yeah.
And
oh my god.
Yep.
So how long did it take for you to do all of those sheets of the writings?
I think it was about 2 months or something. There was a time where I don't know if I even worked on it consistently. This all blurs together because the last phases of getting this album created were when we were doing recording sessions, we were doing production. I was trying to get all the art wrapped up, and I don't even remember.
Yeah, so like the writing, we didn't even like talk about timeline of the album, like when and how it came out, but we just like writing the record was a whole time intensive process that took a couple of years, and then even like recording and producing the record to completion was just a long process. And everything, we've tried to map this out a couple of times on like, hey, when did we finish this phase or that phase or whatever, but then we end up just kind of saying like somewhere between like April and August, I'm not really sure, like
dead vortex, right?
like if you're in a band and you've put together a record before, then the kind of haze that goes around that time period. Yeah. It's kind of a big ball of timey-wimey.
Well, let's listen to another track. I'm excited to hear the next one on the album, track 3, "To Quicken Stone."
My personal favorite track on the record.
Sweet.
Let's find out more as to why it's Vince's favorite track when we come back in. Here we go.
I expect that type of language at delis, but not here. Well, that's too freaking bad. You hear me?
Because we're throwing it back to Morgan and Luco on the Metal Experience.
Woo! That was another Panegyrist track. That was To Quicken Stone. What does that mean?
Means
Everybody look at Elijah
to
at once.
bring stone to life. I'm trying to think how to even delve into the meaning behind that. It's yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out where to begin with
Tell
this.
me, damn it.
There's a lot of dense theology and not even theology. That's the wrong word.
Oh, it is
Philosophy. Philosophy
Yeah.
and philosophy of theology, even.
Theosophy.
It's basically looking at like the religion of Christianity, and like I've heard, people basically make the critique of like it's this dead temple that like used to maybe at one point house something meaningful or a sacred flame or something of that matter, but now it's just sort of a vestige of a past age of a different religious and philosophical paradigm, just this sort of remaining shell,
Like Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade.
something like that. But I am a devout Christian, and that's where the spiritual aspect of this album comes from. And in Scripture, there's passages that talk about the church as like the living, mystical body of Christ, and I've taken that and used. There's a bunch of like alchemical, philosophical ideas that I've like woven into there, with the idea of the Philosopher's Stone being sort of the fundamental thing that can transform any essence, and
From one thing into another.
right, which is that's sort of the basis of all of like Hermetic alchemy, this idea of
Transmutation.
transmutations, as above, so below, like the processes that change things in the universe or in minerals in an alchemist's flask, are the same philosophical principles that govern the transformations of the human soul. And from my religious perspective, it's seeing Christ as that Philosopher's Stone, which is the cornerstone that imparts life to the temple of the mystical body of Christ. So yeah, there's lots of layers to it. There's
Getting deep on the Metal Experience.
I just got schooled.
and there's, even in the booklet, there's lots of different types of alchemical symbolism that I, have sort of created and put together, and they're, different symbols have relation to the meaning of the different tracks.
So then how did you, how did you,
He
all
needs-
these different
Morgan,
symbols.
take it away. He needs me to ask a question.
No, how did you,
He needs to formulate the question.
how did you formulate all these symbols and stuff? How did you find out?
We need a symbol for what
You
he's
know
saying.
what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Question mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of it is an intuitive process where I'll take a phrase and rearrange the letters of it, and then sort of just intuitively work with the shape until it,
Did you make them up? Some
Yeah,
of them,
right.
Oh, they're all made up. They're
Well,
not anything.
He said some of them.
It's
Okay.
it's a combination of that with like actual symbols from like medieval alchemy.
Yeah.
There's like a sulfur symbol, gold, phosphorus, the Philosopher's Stone. Like those are all symbols that I've worked into my own symbol language that is in that booklet. and so it does have some sort of historical context, but it's also
And then you kind of put your own spin on it.
yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Very, very, very inspired.
So if you were to kind of classify your genre, what do you put in category wise?
Yeah.
I know there's multiple for this.
It's a lot there. Again, like I keep saying this, and I think it's just because like I just feel like there's so many different layers to this, but I've always felt that to call it just avant-garde metal is just the perfect way to say it.
It makes me think of jousting.
Say that again.
Well, when you say avant-garde,
Yeah.
I think
Like
on
on
guard.
guard.
like you're
Oh, jousting.
like you're
En
ready
garde.
to fight somebody.
En garde.
You're gonna
Yes.
do
Yeah.
some fencing,
Yes,
right?
exactly, like
Yeah.
fencing
Av-
or
avant-garde
a
is
night battle.
Yeah, avant-garde is
As like the weird, the edge
Yeah.
of weird.
it's-
Yeah.
So
yeah.
pushing the edge of what?
Tis a flesh wound. Yeah.
That's a really good analogy, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Um,
An intellectual flesh wound.
Yes.
yeah, totally. It just kind of, you've got like a mainstream interpretation of what art is or what music is. In this case, what music is, and then this
Yeah.
kind of just takes it and inverts it in a lot of ways. When we use things like dissonance and consonance, it's like everything that most people listen to is consonant. Even what we consider sad, like in like a minor chord, a minor chord is still very musically consonant. Technically, we're using different types of musical intervals that are not consonant. They're very like discomforting and like off-putting even to a lot of people. And so it just kind of gives it this fringe art, like our, as we would call avant-garde, but then also it takes that form of like black metal in a lot of parts, takes the part of like progressive rock and progressive metal in a lot of parts. It's just kind of, but avant-garde metal is what I've come to call avant-garde black metal, something like that.
Black metal,
My,
burn the
um,
Bible.
No.
No,
Wow.
we're not, no.
See, this is why you shouldn't talk in the middle of conversations like this. Because I was going to say,
No
You
context.
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
right. Totally out of context.
No
Why don't you go
context.
put your mask on, Craig, and be quiet? Your genre, like when you say black metal, it's, to me, it's kind of like, for the black metal bands, that you think of, you would have never thought the elements of like Christianity is a positive note in that genre. It's
Right.
very. See, Greg, this is why you don't talk.
That's my catchphrase, by the way.
Hail
So
Satan.
y'all
That's
know.
Greg.
No.
Literally, he'll be like, "Hi, I'm Greg. Black metal, burn the
So,
Bible."
yeah.
That's how he introduces himself. Okay, hi,
It's in the
I'm
signature.
Luco.
Oh
Yeah.
boy.
So I was just
It's like that's definitely something that's been had to be. Is that a sentence? That's definitely
It
something
is
that,
now.
that's definitely something that we've had to reconcile with both people who listen to the record and also even for ourselves of like black Christian black metal, but like I don't know.
exists.
That's a. I think Elijah has a bit better of an answer to that.
so
than I do.
first those types of bands that are in that black metal genre that are, I don't know if they're anti-Christian or they're all satanic, but do you listen to that type of music still, or are you against their views that it kind of keeps you away from that genre,
That's
but you use those elements of tone
right.
to your music?
It's a really good question.
A lot of most of, or at least a big chunk of what I listen to just regularly is various forms of occult or Luciferian or satanic black metal, like bands that are not doing it as a gimmick, but that are like deadly serious about it, and that's actually why I'm drawn to black metal as an art form. I actually
The
at this
ritualistic
point,
aspect of it.
yeah, the ritualist aspect of it, the seriousness of it,
Right.
the
It's a form of worship.
the worship, the darkness. It's just a whole constellation of things that it clicks with me, even though most of what I listen to is people that are either just on a different path or sort of actively antagonistic toward at least what their perception of Christianity is. But it's interesting. Black metal has always had this strange relationship with Christianity because you start off with it, in the 80s as just satanic thrash metal, which most of it wasn't even actually satanic. It's just people trying to push some boundaries with imagery and stuff. Then you get the 90s with the second wave and everything that happened in Norway, and there you get sort of the beginnings of like the first murmurings of a actual theistic Satanism, which isn't just using Satan as a symbol for rebellion, but no, this is something that we're actually worshiping. And then from there, in the late 90s and then in the early 2000s, you have a bunch of bands that are made up of serious occultists that started pushing this what they called orthodox black metal, where they started taking sacred Christian forms and inverting them in a real theistic worship of Satan as the true God or a legitimate competitor for the Christian God, and then out of that you have a lot of different trajectories of people that are following various different occult paths.
Temple of Set. And
I mean, there's all kinds
of
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Sure, it just keeps fragmenting and fragmenting as you go further along, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, and there's definitely different kind of schools of black metal now,
Right.
but that's what draws me to it. I honestly don't really even listen to a lot of other metal at this point. It's really the ritualistic religious aspect of it, and I find that in this strange way, I actually have a lot in common with some of these people that you're like, oh, that's a Satanist. He hates your guts.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, but I've also had a lot of really in-depth conversations,
profound conversations, I would say. If you if you look at the a lot of this stuff ends up on Facebook threads too, and talking about this stuff that what I've seen with him talking to some of these guys and in different groups, and just the level of intellectual connection that you'll see between these guys and what they're talking about with Elijah. It's just awesome because like he said, you think that they're just straight up just hating people, but they're not. They don't. Well, I mean, not all. Most of them don't. Yeah, most of them don't want to do physical harm or something like that. But if you approach them with level-headedness and not, I don't know.
You can have a decent conversation with them, even though if you're idealistically opposed to
I think
belief systems.
Two good examples of that, just from reading interviews and watching interviews, is Nurgle from Behemoth, and he's written a couple books where he even discusses his religion and stuff in it.
Sure.
Which actually, just reading about some of the stuff he had to say, made me look differently at the religion of Satanism as what I had perceived it to be originally.
Sure.
But then also Danny Filth of Cradle of Filth is and
he prefers Daniel.
well, whatever he goes by, and then Shaggaroth is another one, and they all seem so normal, without corpse paint and performing with their bands, but it's just their religion that is so controversial because from actually reading it, it's been misunderstood. I'm not going to say what religion is wrong and what's right, but it's definitely made me think differently of how they have been perceived. I think part of that is from what you had mentioned earlier from back in the 90s, some of the stuff that was going on with Norway, burning churches,
seeing
mayhem
actual
stuff.
murder. Yeah.
So weird. Lords of Chaos is opening my eyes even more, but
what Omogi.
yeah, it's a whole different realm of thought process. I guess that's why I kind of stayed away from black metal for so long, was because of the views. I was like, oh my God, my mom thinks I'm worshiping Satan.
So, whereas me, I just really liked the music.
Sure.
I don't whatever. Right and wrong, I know the difference, but I don't,
Well, Luco's Catholic. Luco grew up Catholic, so it's.
But like, I love black metal and death metal and
upside down crosses.
I don't. No, I
No,
just.
That's Greg.
That's Greg.
I have a photo of me holding an inverted cross on one of our interviews.
Is that the one on your Facebook page of you wearing corpse paint of some sort?
Oh, that's
the only picture
me,
on
like,
your page.
Holding, I'm like wearing a cloak and stuff, but, yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Was that weird time in the '90s?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff in terms of like how symbolism can be used in different ways that that's always an interesting thing to me, there's so many different levels of it. There are so many different spiritual currents that people are working in. So you have some people that are a lot more normal. You also have some people that are still in some sense or another extremists, that are still looking to the 90s for inspiration. And I don't hold the same beliefs that, Mayhem held. But there's something about the fact that this was so much more than music for them that, like, they felt like there was a conflict that had to be lived out and not just talked about, right? Like, we're not just going to write some songs about things.
They had to be real about
what
they
real
performed.
Right, yeah. There had to be like a consistency with your idealism in your head and your actions.
Well, and their
outward.
reputation. They had all this.
Well, then it starts to build up to that.
Yeah.
Like it starts with like your thoughts and then your actions, and then you build a reputation of X, Y, or Z.
Right. But like even outside of the question of reputation, when it comes down to like what is it that you believe? What is it that you actually believe in most firmly? Like, are you willing to bleed for that? Are you willing to die for that? Are you willing to build your life around that? That's what I still see in a lot of the occult black metal people that I interact with, and that's this strange place where I feel like me as this like a traditional Christian find that in so many ways I share more in common with them than I do with like the rest of the world. It's this really weird, strange, inverted thing. But that's whether you want to call our music black metal or not. A lot of the black metal that I listen to is a lot darker. It just has a different feeling to it. So I'm not even sure I would call what we're doing black metal, at least on this record.
The new record or the old record?
No, the one that we just were
the old
playing.
record, yeah.
I mean, we're definitely taking things in a darker, heavier direction with the next one that we're working on. But I lost my train of thought there. Anyway, I mean, I go to these shows, I talk to these people, and for me, it's not music. I mean, it is music, but it's like this is an expression of what I believe at the deepest level. It's not gimmick for me. Like, I put my heart and soul into that artwork. I put my heart and soul into that music. I am willing to put myself in uncomfortable places where it's not going to be necessarily received well, or it'll stir up lots of questions, or whatever.
YouTube comments.
No.
Like okay,
sure these are pretty Jerry.
They always say don't read the comments, but I don't know. I've thought that it was really cool. Like there were some people who were saying things like, what was it like?
Christian
like
black metal
Christian
that
black
sounds
metal
like
that sounds like Blind Guardian. Not sure if Cancer or 10 out of 10.
Oh my god!
And stuff like that.
That
And I'm
was-
just like, this is amazing. Like just watching people's reaction to it.
But then some of the more thoughtful people are like, well, I don't hold this religion, but there's some content to what they're talking about. And-
Recognizing that it's recognizing that ball is life, if you know what I mean. Like, that we're not just sitting here trying to just make like an image. We're trying to reconcile something that that a lot of people in the world, the vast majority of people, try to think about throughout their lives, and and it's I think it's definitely something that more there is a growing community of atheism around the world, and that's like that people can be on their own paths and think whatever they want at in their lives, but honestly, like it's still something that burns within most people of like what is all of this,
Right.
and
It's a fundamental question.
yeah, and like
Transcendence.
is
Right,
trying to like if I have this idea of something that's divine, and what that means, and like is there something there, and then like diving into it to try to reconcile that.
You just got super deep.
Get deep.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, it's good. These are good
Mental
conversations.
experience gone off the deep end.
Yeah,
You know what?
TLDR, ball
We've-
is life.
We've
Ball's
interviewed a couple satanic bands, and now it's kind of cool to have a different viewpoint on things. I like it. Let's play another track. We're moving right along to do
Yeah.
this. Track number 4, "The Void is the Heart of the Flame." Well,
Deep.
Hashtag deep.
Hashtag deep.
just getting deeper here. Well, let's talk about that when we come back in. Here is track number 4.
Small little space listening to this podcast right now. Do you want to hear a fucking podcast about anything and everything? Like movies, music, television, and more? Oh my god. Well, you come to the right place. Subscribe to Journey into Comics Network, and you get Podcastrophe, hosted by me, Dick. Why not throw a couple bucks to the Patreon? It's your choice. Yeah. This is a Podcastrophe.
That sounds so awesome.
Hey, this is Pete,
Tanner,
Zach,
and we're Bloodletter, and you're listening to The Metal Experience.
I'm Luco Blaze, and I love big fat cock.
Here we go.
Jeez, this again. Here we go.
That was just The Void is the Heart of the Flame.
Bye.
Don't mess up.
Don't mess up.
Panegyrist. Panegyrist.
Not too bad.
That's right.
Panegyrist.
Now correct him and tell him what you're really called.
Black metal, read the Bible.
I am Greg. I am Greg Master, and I have a message. Black metal, read the Bible.
And that was a fading Satanist. All right,
quickly.
it's about that time. Luco, are you ready?
Born ready.
Now it's time for
Hey man, look what I found.
Only on the Metal Experience.
Focus.
Focus.
Fuck us.
Focus. All right, this week and every week brought to you by our friends at Imprint Recordings. Your music, your imprint. Visit imprintrecordings.com for more information for all your recording needs. This week we have all the way from Sheboygan, Wisconsin, the band Toxic Ruin.
Woo-hoo!
And congrats to the guys once again. They won the Cobra Lounge battle for...
Vakken Open Air.
That's it. I always want to say whackin'.
It's Vakken.
I say whackin'.
Because
It's a
you're an
W.
asshole. You are insulting
for
a huge
whacking open air a couple
World
weeks
Fest.
ago. Their next stop is L.A. for the finals, and they were fucking awesome. All the bands on there were awesome.
Yeah.
Toxic Ruin was fucking sweet too. But tonight we're gonna play a Toxic Ruin track. Again, they are from Sheboygan, Wisconsin, and this song is "Tyrannical Demise" off the Mortal Insolence EP. Let's do it.
Well, hi there. Hello. We know you're enjoying your current dose of metal with the people at the Metal Experience. What are their names, Brian?
Hey, Morgan and Luco, how you doing?
Well, howdy. Should you get through with your dosage with them and find yourself still wanting metal, come see us at the Epitome of Stupidity podcast. You can find us on Podbean, Spotify, Google Play, iTunes, and other places, I'm sure.
Yeah, and it's cool. It's a cool show, I must say.
Until then, back to these guys.
Bye-bye.
Hell yeah, that was awesome. Redo that. That was stupid. I don't know what I was doing.
Hey.
You got to do.
Stop that. Redo it over.
No, we're just in it.
If you
We're
do
just
that
going.
again, I'm going to harmonize.
All right, just go.
Let's redo it.
We're rocking and rolling.
We're rocking and rolling.
Well, you can redo it without redoing it. Just.
Are you ready?
Now.
Do it.
Yeah.
I don't know where we're going with this.
I like it.
Man, we peaked
Sorry
so
for
much.
anyone
Cool.
listening to this on headphones.
That was Toxic Ruin.
That was all of us.
That was Toxic Ruin, all the way from Sheboygan,
Sheboygan.
Wisconsin, with Tyrannical Demise off the album Mortal Insolence.
Insolence of the mortals.
Thanks, Grandpa Zima.
Thanks, Grandpa Zima. I am Luco Blaze, Morgan Danielle. Grandpa Zima sitting next to me.
That's my new name, Grandpa Zima.
That's your that's what your mother named you.
Yes.
You fell out and you're like your little Grandpa Zima.
Sure, you right, Ray.
Sure, you right. Special guest tonight, Erik.
Hey.
From Sons of Ra. And we're still rocking out here in the back of Fitz's Spare Keys with Panegyrist. Morgan,
what up?
Take it away.
Hey, what up?
What's up?
Yo.
Hey. So that last track that we just heard was called "The Void Is the Heart of the Flame" off of your album. What is that about?
That one came out of some. It was actually a lot of the lyrics of that. Am I on?
Oh, there it is.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
Gotcha.
Had you turned down.
Now the lyrics of that one came out of a sort of a prayer meditation thing that I had written down before we had even written any of the music. But it basically has to do with the idea of prayer as an embrace of emptiness. Basically finding that inner place where I think that we all have some sort of kind of there's a void, there's an emptiness at the center of us, that part of us that longs for transcendence, for the divine, for meaning and fulfillment, and instead of trying to sort of bury that with material acquisitions or any other types of things that we sort of look for. I was exploring this idea of actually sort of holding that place open as prayer. So it was just a meditation on that.
Like the that as he was saying, that emptiness that you might feel inside of you if there is a void somewhere inside of you, that this isn't a thing that you just like comb over or bury or like pull a rug over a hole, and you actually dive into it and use it to you use that emptiness as a catalyst towards
to reach out
discovery.
And touch faith.
Well, as a more so as like a catalyst for discovery of, like to see like what is he? Oh, okay.
Grandpa Zima, can you chill out over there?
Grandpa Zima with the lighter.
So I saw a light. I'm like a moth.
Trying to light things on fire.
Yeah.
Who knew that the grandpa would be so pyro?
I was fixing
old
the,
habits die hard.
Pen.
Yeah, right.
Fidgets.
Sorry. But yeah. So basically, if you have a void inside of you, then it becomes a catalyst to figure out what's missing, why is it a void, and what should be there, and seek to fill it.
So how does the writing process work then for you guys? Do you, Elijah, already have like a song already written out, or do you have something composed already that you're writing to?
Usually the music comes first, and then, like, I will journal my meditations, and then they'll be fit to the music later on, and so, like, I'll sometimes write something that I've been thinking about or something that I've been exploring in prayer, and then once the music is completed, I'll figure out how do I want to split this up into verses, and what are we going to sing? What words would make sense, like it with clean vocals, and which ones are going to make more sense if I do harsh vocals.
The conveyance.
Yeah.
Just
sort of feeling what feels right. It's all pretty intuitive. I don't know. There's not necessarily an exact science to it.
So you don't go with like, I want to write a song about X, Y, or Z. You don't go into that. It just kind of.
For some of the songs on this album, like the music was written first, and then I went back and looked at things I had written and realized, like this song would actually fit well with this theme of this thing that I've been thinking or writing about.
Yeah.
And then fit that to the song. I think the last song on the album, it was a little more of like, I want this song to be about this, and so the music was sort of composed with the content in mind. But it's a little bit of both, throughout the album.
We still have a couple more tracks to play. Track 5.
These are the long ones.
But that's okay. They tell a story, and this is your debut album. I want to play all of it for the world to hear your debut album in whole. So, track 5 is called what?
Track 5 is Ophidian Crucifix.
Obsidian Crucifix.
Exactly. Damn, that was good. Actually.
Ophidian.
Ophidian.
Ophidian Crucifix.
I think that's how you sounded down in Texas. I'm pretty sure. That's pretty close.
It's like you awoke in
quite
death.
similar to how I how I announced the song. When we played.
Perfect. Do you want to say that one more time for us, Grandpa Zima?
This is Grandpa Zima, and you're about to hear Ophidian Crucifix. Yes. And
Whisper words, but no sense. death through counter wisdom.
Well, I expect that type of language at Denny's, but not here. Well, that's too freaking bad. You hear me?
Because we're throwing it back to Morgan and Luco on the Metal Experience.
Whoa, that song was Ophidian Crucifix. I am Grandpa Zima, and we are here to rock your world.
Well, fucking talk.
And silence.
Thanks.
God damn.
Thanks.
He put
Grandpa
out Luco's
Zima.
Blaze.
You put me out.
Luco Blaze.
I don't know where I didn't want to follow that. I was just
Yeah,
how can
it's
you follow
hard to-
perfection?
It's hard to follow perfection, right?
Man, it's tough.
Yeah.
Tough. Morgan, I'm gonna have you follow perfection. Sucker.
Crickets.
I got
Yeah.
nothing to say.
Nope.
Okay, so that was track number 5. We're almost done with the whole album that you guys brought tonight. What is Ophidian Crucifix referring to?
So the word Ophidian means like serpent, like relating to serpents. It's from the Greek word ophis, which means snake, serpent. So it's like the serpent's cross. And this is another one that has lots of layers to it that would probably take way too long to try to delve into. But in the Old Testament,
you can see a common theme here.
in the Old Testament,
You're only back.
there's this story of these poisonous serpents that are attacking the Israelites in the wilderness, and Moses makes a bronze serpent that when they look at it, they're healed from the venom of the snakes. And
just from looking at something?
Just from looking at this bronze serpent that's lifted up on a pole. And later in the New Testament, Christ references that and says, just as the bronze serpent was lifted up in the wilderness, so the Son of Man will be lifted up. And he's referring to his own crucifixion. And so this song deals with basically within a lot of the occult currents that I interact with people that are working in. There's this reverence for the snake, like the snake in the garden as being Lucifer, the bringer of wisdom, the serpent that tempted Adam and Eve to take the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And this song kind of has multiple layers of sort of paralleling and inversion going on, where it takes Christ's words about him, like comparing himself to this bronze serpent that, like, even though it's the image of the thing that was killing the people, it was the thing that healed them. And then applying that to the idea of the crucifixion and the idea of resurrection and rebirth coming through death. In Greek, the word pharmakon means both poison and cure. And so this song deals with that too, this idea that, like, there's a way in which death is the gateway to rebirth. The poison is the cure. So there's all those themes are sort of woven together in different ways throughout that song. But yeah, it's juxtaposing this image of the serpent and the cross. That is that song.
Wow.
Now, the new stuff you said that I know you guys are working on right now, we got very minor details.
Yeah.
Heavier and darker is just what you.
There's a certain element that started off. You guys were asking about early on in the writing and like the origin of the music and the band and stuff, and there were certain riffs that Brendan had written for the first record that carried a certain vibe. And then when Brendan and Elijah started jamming together, they didn't take the entire idea, but they were still creating stuff that was very atmospheric. And in the beginning, if you notice throughout this record, the guitar tones are just pretty standard metal tones, just distorted, lead guitar, dual lead guitar a lot of the time and stuff. But initially, we had this idea of running through like a little bit more of a complex effects chain that would take the guitars and literally make them sound like just overtones echoing in a cavern of something that vaguely sounds like guitar. And it was just going to be this more of a like atmospheric vibe with a whole lot of chaos. And it kind of just like got a little bit cleaner and more defined as things went. Not to say that we're bringing that back, that like that chaotic ambient sound, because that's also a little bit, I don't know, like a little too direct to say, but we're definitely, there's a certain stipulation on when you're writing and producing music that, how accurate or how precise do you want the conveyance of the notes that you're playing? How well do you want people to be able to hear that and pick that out? And we made it really, really important on this first record. It became really important for people to hear, oh, we worked so hard on all this music, on all this melodic information. How do we put this together and make it so that people can hear that? And that was a big challenge because the music is so dissonant that because it's so dissonant, it's also hard to mix together in an audio way too, because you have all these clashing frequencies. Everything's trying to make space for itself. Now, you can also notice that some of this music is very fast moving, not the speed and the drums and the blast beats, but just the melodic information. There's a lot of notes played within a short period of time, and it's a lot of information. The new record, again, not that we're trying to scale things back, but we're just trying to experiment. Now we saw how things come together in a chaotic way. Now we're going to try and take that chaos and try to utilize it a little more effectively, and so that it's, just can. I feel like I'm talking a little bit in circles here. Sorry, but we're gonna take some of that chaos and just use it a little bit more effectively, in a musical way.
Yeah.
And just create something that makes a bigger, just gives you something that feels bigger than, just 2 or 3 guitars, a bass, and a drum kit, and some keys. Just makes it feel a little more epic, a little more massive, sound-wise, sonic-wise.
So how many? When are we looking to finish the second? And how far along are we with the writing process of the second album?
We're still in the early phases of writing right now. I would like to be able to have something out by probably about this time next year.
Yeah, kind of timing it up about 2 years. We'd like to see it like 2 years out from Higher G's release. We'd like to see the next one, so we're going to be working on this record pretty hard throughout the year. And all the lessons that we learned doing the first record are, going to be proving really useful when we're putting this one together. And not that the first one is rocky, but just excited for this one to be smoother.
Are you planning on doing all the artwork again and everything?
Yeah. We've discussed like a few ideas for artwork, but the full idea of like what everything is going to be hasn't come together yet.
While you're writing this stuff, you're still also looking for like sort of a permanent lineup that you guys can like play with as well, right? Or is it more of you're going to write the material and then find additional personnel once the music is kind of together?
We have people lined up for the recording right now.
Okay.
I think some of the members are just kind of wanting to keep a low profile, and
Sure.
So we're not making any lineup announcements yet of who's doing what, but we do have a full lineup for the next for these recordings, and we'll see what happens for live performances.
Sure.
We would like to do that, but
playing live, as with your various bands and stuff, playing live really carries its own set of challenges, especially when you're doing technical music.
Absolutely.
Or any kind of intense music, that has intense imagery or intense sonics.
Sure.
It's hard to find people who are fully on board and wanting to dedicate that much time.
You have to be very targeted and specific with the kind of live environments you're playing, show types and all that. And I've seen that with you guys. So.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
So like when some really good black metal shows that we groups that we like, or like that we feel that we would gel with comes through, we might hit up a promoter and say,
Sure.
hey, can we get on this? And just kind of go from there. So
Behemoth, Flesh God Apocalypse.
Septic Flesh.
Yeah. All the good ones. You'd be perfect openers.
There you go.
Man,
You guys would be perfect headliners.
I want to
There you
like
go.
Headliners already.
I would love to open up for like Behemoth, like
That'd
up
be
at like
crazy, yeah.
Vakken or something. Just saying Vakken hit us up, like open or open air or organization
Just
hit us up.
curiosity, does your Italian label have connections to get you on a fest like that?
That's not for us to say.
Right. Well, probably not. The label doesn't really organize tours or anything. I mean, they're really just labeled to put music out there.
Which they do a killer job of.
Yeah.
I Void Hanger is like been amazing to us as a brand new artist coming out
absolutely.
of nowhere.
They manage all your physical inventory too, with pressing the CDs and like vinyl and stuff.
Yeah, they rock.
Awesome.
They rock.
Where can everybody find the merchandise you have available, and what else is available besides CDs?
We have some T-shirts right now. We're kind of whittling down. Probably gonna have to place a new order soon. Maybe a new design or something. We'll see.
Yeah.
But we've got some T-shirts available. Right now, it's mostly just email. Direct messaging our band Facebook, which is facebook.com/Panegyrist. The same way that it's spelled. I don't know if people can see that on where they find the podcast,
Well,
and
we'll
the
tell-
Facebook links and
I'll
stuff.
put a link up there.
We will tag you. Yes.
Yeah. So, if you hit up our Panegyrist Facebook page, we ship out T-shirts and stuff like that. We want to do more merch, but also at the same time, there's a little bit of inside. It's important to promote, but we also don't want the band itself to be like a brand necessarily that people can tout as a brand or something. There's not to say that like wearing a T-shirt with your favorite band is branding, which again is why we have T-shirts, and it's really cool. There's something really enjoyable about that, but we don't want to be the band that has like stickers and mugs and like all this stuff and
koozies, right?
Yeah. Because it just starts, because while merch is obviously like one of the best ways to raise funds and monies for a band, it's wonderful. We also don't want to necessarily like cheapen the image of a band, and
Like the underground
cheapen is the
secrecy.
worst word to say. That's not the right word.
We get your point, though.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's
'Cause
also.
I personally believe in all that stuff. I think it's amazing, but
it's also another job that somebody has to do.
That is
That's
true.
true, yeah.
That's true.
Somebody has to
yeah.
design the stuff. Somebody has to deal with the orders, logistics, ship everything out. And when you're focused on the highest quality art that you want to make,
It's a little bit
this
more.
can take away from that.
Yeah, there's a bit more like philosophy and art and artistic philosophy and personal philosophy
Right.
in this.
Yeah, if you're going to go with this kind of music, which let's face it, we're not going for pop appeal here.
Right.
Yeah.
You're going for personal expression, and it's completely 100% art.
The coolest thing that I
Yeah.
found is since the album has gotten some amounts of recognition on international periodicals online, we've gotten. Unfortunately, like it's been a little bit hard to ship overseas, but like we've gotten a lot of interest in people from like Greece and Norway and all this stuff to like ship T-shirts and stuff out there. So, that does feel pretty good to at least see that like that reach is getting out there and people want to represent. It's pretty cool. We
Badass.
appreciate all of it, especially you guys, like Metal Experience, Luco and Morgan. Y'all are amazing.
Don't forget
thanks
about
very
Grandpa
much.
Zima.
And also
forget about
Grandpa
Grandpa
Zima,
Zima.
and then also Erik Oldman here. I don't know if you guys know, but he's a badass guitarist.
Oh, he is.
Oh yeah.
He
in
is.
Sons of Ra.
I've known
the
Eric
man.
for 8 years now.
She has.
Oh, right
Yeah.
on. Cool.
Beneath the Stairs
she's OG
was one
Beneath
of
the
my
Stairs.
I'm the newcomer here
first
then.
ever interviews with a band.
Yep.
Actually, one of the first ones we've ever done.
Hell
So
yeah.
So
it goes way back.
well, and
Beneath the Stairs came on twice.
Yeah.
No,
right?
they were
Twice.
like.
And
well,
then
one
Sons
time
of-
when you were
Sons of
still
Rock
doing the
came
show
on.
with Tony
Yeah.
and
Were they the
Dennis.
first band or the second band ever?
The second, because District 22 was on first.
You were the second band ever.
Yeah, second or third, because I
on the
did
Metal
do
Experience proper,
Orinoco. Yeah.
before it was like some other weird different name
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
Way back when.
Way back
Way
when.
back
Way
when.
back when.
Ancient history here.
The second
It's
band
crazy.
on ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to kind of resonate or reflect back some of the kudos here, though. I mean, what you do with your studio is fantastic, and just being able to, because you're looking for people who play with that much, or write music, or want to record and put out something with that much artistic depth that you produce yourself. You're not looking to just like, hey, you know, all right, yeah, I'll record your three song demo for whatever, $500 or whatever. Here's the cheap package or whatever it is. Like, you seem pretty selective about who you want to work with. So,
You know,
I'm pretty passionate about it. You know,
It's, I wouldn't say that like I'm super selective because I
You do a
really,
good job, though.
I
Really,
I really love like working with people, but I do seem to attract a lot of artists, including Elijah when we first met and stuff. Like I think there was an attraction to want to create something together because we both had, you know, like high levels of zeal, you know, towards our art and the things that we want to see
Right.
in the art community and stuff. And I don't know, I think just this, as you mentioned, the studio, you know, like the studio just in general, our whole network there just attracts artists with, I like that word, with like just a lot of zeal, like for their art. And I think that's just the greatest thing, seeing people who are just so excited about creating some, you know, that thing.
Yep.
And you got stuff from like all across the board.
Yeah.
what genre
Yeah,
not just metal,
math
not just
rock, shoegaze, you know, death
fusion
metal,
stuff,
black
pleasantries.
metal. Yeah, you know, pleasantries is like weird, like indie math rock, brilliance,
Horns
you
and
know,
stuff, yeah.
you know, and everyone from like ages like 16, like all the way through like their 40s. It's just amazing. Yeah.
And your studio once again is Swift Road Studios.
Yeah, Swift Road Studios.
And how does everybody get in touch with you if they're interested in recording with you or inquiring about recording with you?
Again, we've got a great Facebook page, Swift Road Studios on Facebook. Also, we have a website, Swift Road Studios or swiftroadrecordings.com. Email at info@swiftroadstudios.com. Hit me up, Vincent Ippolito on Facebook. I don't know. There's a lot of ways. You can text me at beep. No, I'm just kidding. But no, it's just
it's in the bathroom.
Yeah, someone give me a 1K tone right there. But no, just
I saw that in the stall. It was Vince Ippolito was here.
Yeah.
It was the women's room.
It's like
if you see me from behind, you might mistake me for a woman.
You're right. It was a long hair joke.
It's Pantene hair.
But you know, yeah, Swift Road Studios. It's a cool spot, and it's in downtown Arlington Heights, and we just love people and music and stuff.
Awesome.
That should be our tagline, right?
We love people and music and stuff.
Yeah, and
Stuff.
Yeah.
Period. Right.
Eric Oldman
Yeah.
is our co-host for the evening. Wanted to thank you once again for coming out after recovering from being sick.
Yeah, sorry.
It's terrible.
All the odd coughings.
Oh
sorry
no, it's
about
okay.
That.
As long as you're not dying, that's all I care
Well,
about.
just
Still
Okay.
alive.
You're still alive.
I'm busy living and
still
getting-
kicking.
Still getting busy living.
So you have a couple shows coming up for Sons of Rod. I wanted to get the details from you about the awesome stuff going on with you.
So, yeah, this Saturday we're going to be at Reggie's. We're opening up for a band called Consider the Source.
Those guys are awesome.
Those
too.
one band that there's two bands that I want my band to play with. They're one of them. So, really interesting, off the wall, instrumental band that covers a gamut of genres: Eastern, Indian, Turkish, Middle Eastern musics. Fused with progressive metal, fused with whatever. I mean, they play everything. Very, very unique and very interesting band to listen to if you're a fan of instrumental, shreddy kind of music. But that's Reggie's this Saturday. We're playing with them. Doors are, I believe, 8 o'clock. It's in the music joint side where you can sit down and eat food. So come on out.
Dinner and a show.
Yeah, you can get dinner and a show. And they make a pretty good cocktail on the joint side, too. So if you're into that.
They do.
Go get yourself a nice old fashioned there.
Hot toddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's going to be our last show in Chicago for a while. I don't have anything else booked. We're trying to get our album done, our first full length. We finally have a drummer who is fully vested in the band with Mike, and he's been very actually integral with our writing process, like just very involved in really good creative input and decisions and choices on things that we're writing. And the band's sound is actually evolving quite a bit too. You come out Saturday, you'll hear kind of what we're kind of moving towards. So it's going to be heavier, and It's definitely more rooted in jazz, but it's also getting a lot heavier in the metal sense. I mean, we're kind of building ourselves as jazz metal fusion now, so that kind of comes down to interesting sort of, you would call it like an origin story of Keith. Keith's the other member of our band. He's the co-founder, bassist. But he, when he was in junior high, he was in a jazz band. He played tenor saxophone, but he was a metalhead. So it goes. But anyway, so his whole thing was like, he just said one day we were just jamming on something. He's like, I used to remember playing the guitar solo to Master of Puppets on my horn.
That's amazing, dude. Nice. Hey, I think that record just turned 33 yesterday.
Yeah, so it gives you an idea. Yeah. We're pretty old. But he was talking about that when he was in junior high, and he's just like, and I was like, yeah, that's kind of one of our threads, man. We do that. He's like, yeah, totally. So that's kind of really sort of where we're kind of gelling now, just really around the idea of using our training and our sort of experiences as jazz musicians and our experiences in playing metal, and kind of fusing them together to kind of create our sounds. There's a lot of things that are coming out that are really kind of crystallizing now, and it's been kind of exciting for that. So we do have another show. Actually, it's in Grand Rapids. We're going to be playing in April. We're going to be at Club 741. We're playing with our good friends, The Knives Are Quiet. They're a post-metal band from Grand Rapids. And then that's pretty much going to be it for a while. I mean, if we see something that we can jump on, we'll get to it, but we're really wanting to sit down and write, get some tunes out. We want to get a couple of just things out with our new drummer, just to kind of establish him, and also give you guys something to play on, the shows and all that too, because the stuff you're playing now is ancient. I mean, we wrote that stuff 20 years ago, so we recorded it 2 years ago. It's like, oh, it's great, but we're so tired of it.
So be ready to mosh on Saturday at Reggie's.
Yeah,
mosh and think.
Mosh and think.
Ooh, best of both worlds.
I like it. Very
All
cool.
I wanted was a Pepsi. Right.
Yeah.
She wouldn't give it to me.
Well, a couple announcements on our end before we wrap up the night, going out with one last track. We shared a snippet for an upcoming track.
A snippet?
A snippet. Our friends in Fleshburner are releasing a brand new album out April 9th. It's called Death Dealer, and the artwork is out now for you to see, and there's a little bit of, on their Facebook page, a sneak peek of the music to come. So that's super exciting. Glass Hands had a feature in Alternative Press for their new single, Reason to Stay, and it's available on all music streaming platforms for you to check out the new single. So be sure to go listen to that. Our friends in Portals have a brand new music video out for their song Burdened. They are currently in the process of finishing up their album to release this year, but for now, go check out their YouTube channel and their Facebook page to watch that. Next weekend up in Michigan in the loftlansing.com for more information. Heart of Jordan is going to be playing, and it's a chance for you to be in their music video. They're playing a show with Sinhaven, Deep Fall, and Nagazi. And
Nagazi, huh?
Nagazi. I'm not kidding. That's what it says. But there's more information on the website for being in the band's music video if you're interested. Friday, March 15th. Gentfest is coming up pretty quick. It's on 420. And I'm telling you this now so you don't forget 420. At the Beat Kitchen, our friends in Tonson did this last year, and it was a big hit. So this year, they are doing it again. And our friends in Rhino and Victims and Contra are playing, along with Extinction Level.
Homies in all
event
those bands.
from
Is
Another
Rhino-
Planet,
Rhino
Dead
getting back
Awake,
together?
and Bind Sacrifice. Bind, blind. That's weird writing.
Wait, Rhino's back together?
Yeah.
Why Rhino?
I have inside
This-
information on that.
Oh,
This
interesting.
might be I love Rhino. They're so
Yeah.
good.
You should hear the new material. It's amazing.
This is called Gent Fest. This is going to happen once again at 420, and it's at the Beat Kitchen. It's $10 and 17 and up, so make sure you are there. Mark your calendars now to come on to our event for the Huntsman coming up later on this month. They are going to be bringing mead. Apparently.
Excuse me?
Mead. They're bringing mead.
Mead.
A mead that they did with Breminghorn Meadery. They're bringing it to share. Meadery. Huntsman
dope.
coming on later this month.
Mead,
Come on out.
Huntsman Prosthetic Records.
My phone just has been taking screenshots of my screen, and it's fucking me up. Our friends in Walk Among Us and Eddie and the Arsons are playing a show this Saturday, March 9th at J.J. Kelly's. Their 30th anniversary for J.J. Kelly's. And Rebels in Stereo is also playing. It's just $5. Make ya holla. Also, check out March 7th. That's this coming Thursday. Our friends in Wrath and Wings of Severance are playing with Combat at Route 20 up in Wisconsin. And they are opening for Three Tremors. That's that one that's that one show that's also going to be happening at the Forge, where our friends in Scars of Armageddon are going to be playing in Act of Destruction? Question mark.
March
9th, also at the Village Spirit in Round Lake Beach. No cover. Devangelist is going to be playing with Bastards Asylum. And a lot of bands that have some weird writing. One of this is Tenebrism. I know that one.
Nice.
And Decomposition, but spelled D-E-K. That's a great way to spell it. And Rotting Tomb.
New metal style.
So make sure you check that out. It's no cover for a 21 and up show. That's pretty awesome. The Helicon Effect has a brand new song up. It's a retrospect off the Visionary EP. It's a playthrough of the song. And the Visionary EP has downloads and CDs available at the Bandcamp for you to check out. Our friends in Frosted Doom have their first single out in over 2 years, and it is up on their Bandcamp.
That's an awesome.
That is a long time ago that they were on our show. Holy
Our
shit.
friends from Pick Up
So
a Pancake.
Allie posted that on Bandcamp for you to check out. And don't forget to go to Justice, Illinois next weekend at Davern's Tavern for the free show with Act of Destruction and Her Worst Nightmare.
That's considered Justice? I thought that was Burbank.
No, it's Injustice. No, I'm kidding.
Injustice.
It's at Davern's Tavern. No, it's on the border. And Her Worst Nightmare is going to be releasing their album. And they have a CD and cassette. And it is $5, make ya holla. So go out to Davern's Tavern and Justice and support them March 15th. And you can pre-order. I forgot to say this
Couple
earlier.
of beers to a tree, guys.
No, never mind. I'm done.
Out in Justice.
That's all I got. That's all I got for now.
So you can't pre-order anything.
No, I was gonna say Portals has a pre-order for something, but I don't. I think it's for their album. I don't fucking know. Next week on our show, we have wait for it, a band called Wait for It.
Yes. I'm waiting.
A band called Wait For It.
What is going on with my Facebook page?
Oh,
Man, that's
It's
a name.
called
You know, that's a metalcore name right there.
Ancient Seance, heavy metal and demon shit from Chicago, Illinois.
Demon
what
shit?
They call, that's what they said. Demon shit. Ancient Seance is coming on for their first time ever. So come out to Fitz Spare Keys in Uptown Elmhurst and hang out with us.
Where's Grandpa Zima
I
when we
don't
need
know.
him to say words?
Grandpa Zima's taking a nap.
He's busy.
And
He
I
had a senior
want to
moment.
say how awesome it was this past weekend. I met Charlie Benante from Anthrax.
Oh,
and
nice.
It was
I saw a picture of
awesome.
that.
It was so much
He's a cool guy.
He is a cool guy. All right, so the last track of the night that we're going to be playing is
And I got the Anthrax beer.
the titular track.
That's
Can
the college word of the
you-
night right there.
Yeah.
Titular.
We say it very often now because we know what it means. So what is this track called again? And when I don't know what I'm saying anymore. The last track of the night, this titular track. This is track 6. And what is it about?
This track is called Hierarchy, and just I'll keep it short. It's a song about transformation of the soul and journey into
the future.
Well,
The future of
sure.
your soul.
Over there.
No,
into the divine, to
Is it-
union with God.
is it kind of like a punctuation point on the ideas throughout the record a bit, or does it leave
Yeah.
it open ended?
I mean, it's about transformation, like this journey of the soul. It's I mean, all of the tracks, deal with certain themes that are related to this, and it sort of, I don't know. I wouldn't even say it's necessarily a summation of things. It's,
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a whole lot more to say.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's okay. I know this show is kind of run long for listeners, but that's because there's an epic masterpiece that you have listened to tonight, and the artwork included once you get a hold of the CD. So I wanted to play it in full to be able to show everything that you guys have created, because I think when bands come on, it's important to show everything, because a lot of the time, like you had mentioned before, when you're recording an album, there's so many different songs for the most part, and there's different sounds and different influences, and I wanted to make sure that, especially for a debut album, we were able to feature all of your hard work. So this track is the last track of the night, and then everybody can find you guys on Facebook on our post that we tag you guys in, and don't forget to check out the Swift Road Studios as well if you're interested in recording or inquiring about recording your band or solo work, or just to talk to Vince and Elijah.
Just come and hang out and make some art.
Come and hang out. Why not?
Make some art.
Get art lessons from Elijah and get recording information from Vince and live the best of both worlds.
Thank you so much for all your kind words, Danielle, and everyone else. And
Thank
Luco
you so much for coming out.
Thanks,
Morgan.
And we'll
Thanks,
have you guys
Luco.
out when the next album is ready.
Thanks, Grandpa Zemo.
And make sure to go out and see Sons of Ra this weekend. Take it down at Reggie's.
I may go to that, Grand Rapids.
You may. Grandpa Zima's going out to Michigan in April.
Got
Make
a
sure you
friend-
tell him
I
it's
got
in
a friend
April,
that
not
lives
this
there.
weekend. So here we go. Last track of the night. Good night.